Welcome to the December school board meeting, and we will begin with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll begin tonight with recognitions. Finley River School, Mrs. Leonard.
Good evening. It's my pleasure. Is it not on? It is. Good evening. It's my pleasure to introduce my team to you. Here's Kate Stein, Jeanette Middleton, and Justin Carey. I'm not going to say a whole lot because I'll start crying, but these people, you can't even begin to put in words what they do and what they bring to this community and to our students every day. And I appreciate them every single day. I don't say it enough to them, but they're fabulous, and it's an honor to work with them. They put together a little presentation, just a little overview of what we do. So it's their words, it's their thing, and I'm going to get out of their way.
Thank you for giving us a little bit of time tonight. Up on the screen is the presentation. First of all, my name is Justin Perry. I've been in the district for 10 years and Finley for the last 4 years. And this is sort of in my time as an alternative school teacher, I found out that a lot of alternative schools handle things differently. So this is Ozark's version of what alternative school looks like and the alternative school experience at Ozark, which as I learn more about other alternative schools in the area, I'm really proud of what we do and how we execute, giving kids the opportunities that enhance their lives. So, I do have a clicker. Those are the 3 topics that I want to cover. Just some basic information about Finley history and some numbers that we have, and then I'll reintroduce you to some of the people, and then talk about what makes us so successful. Ozark School started alternative programming in 1997. That's over there on the left side. In those years, we graduated 32 people in 10 years, and this slide is really to highlight the growth of all our alternative school. Well, last year, we graduated 29 students, which is more students than we've graduated any of the prior 20 some odd years right now. In the current form of what Ozark's alternative school looks like, we are graduating approximately 23 a year, but like I said, last year was a career high of 29. This year we have 34 students. One of them is graduating in semester, and then we are adding 8 more in semester, so we'll be at just over 40 students. You just met with 3 teachers. We teach 18 different courses at Finley School, which means, quick math on that, is 6 different preps for all 3 of the teachers, which means to be a Finley School teacher, you have to be a dynamic and well-rounded educator. We also do credit recovery, and then we do have some special alternative specific courses that help the students transition. The people that you're going to meet, you guys already were introduced to Miss Leonard. Miss Middleton right there takes care of most of the math, and then some facts classes and some, and Miss Stein teaches English and some electives is the word I'm looking for, and then I take care of most of the history and do the elective courses. Miss Parrish isn't here right now, but she is our administrative assistant, and she is also the first point of contact for a lot of parents. She's our security guard, she's our nurse, she's our detective, she takes care of all of the things an amazing administrative assistant takes care of. That picture was taken 2 days ago, so that is our current group of Finley students. we like to remind everybody there's no set profile for what a Finley student is. And as you look at that picture, you can see that we have all kinds of individuals. Generally, we look for students who aren't finding success in their typical high school experience, and that comes from all kinds of different reasons. Sometimes it's social, sometimes it's emotional, sometimes it's behavior. Generally, they're a dropout risk, and they have some individualized educational needs that we are able to meet that sometimes the high school is not able to meet. So what makes Finley successful? And before I dive into this slide, what actually makes Finley successful is the relationships that these ladies and Ms. Parrish are able to build with those students. We have awesome teachers, and not every educator can do what they do. But what they do is this. We do have a 12 to 1-ish student-to-teacher ratio, which is the best practice for alternative education. Because we're able to keep it at that, we're able to build the kinds of relationships that impact students' lives. UPR, our priorities down here, UPR is a phrase that we have started to use more in our book study. We also like to focus on these 4 things: predictability, flexibility, empowerment, and connection. Predictability is something that a lot of our students don't have in their daily lives. So when they come to school, the fact that they generally know what they're going to get, and ironically, that predictability often comes from our flexibility as teachers. We have very experienced teachers that know how to deal with a myriad of situations that walk through the door, and those situations allow us to give a student a predictable daily experience that eventually they start finding comfort in and start feeling at home and safe with. We also try to empower them to find their own way out. Some of our best success stories, we like to describe it as, we can't fix a lot of your problems, but we can help you get to a place where you can start to make some decisions that help solve your own problems. We're not saviors for these kids, but we can help them get to a place where they can save themselves, so to speak. And then the last part is connection. Not only do we want to make a connection with them, but we want to connect them with other resources that they're going to be able to use outside the school district or within the school district, so they can take whatever next steps are right for them. I don't know how many of you saw this, but we were featured on KY3 a couple weeks ago. This is a short clip of one of our students talking about her experience at Finley School.
Reggie Tabor is a junior at Finley River, whose dragon slippers represent the comfort she feels in a school that has a kitchen, wardrobe, and small class sizes for more individualized attention. The same courses are taught here, but there's a different feel than the main high school, where Rainey was getting all F's. Now, except for 1B, she's getting all A's.
When you walk into high school, you get judged. That's all you feel is judgment, eyes everywhere. When you walk in here, it's just love, care for. It's just so different.
Making someone feel heard, seen, valued, then you find that path to success. And it's messy, and it's not clean.
I was never
So that's Rainey. We love Rainey.
Reggie Tabor is a junior.
Back. So what she doesn't know that she's describing is what I mentioned earlier about UPR. Unconditional. UPR stands for unconditional positive regard. Not exactly we love you no matter what, but close to that. We try to approach each day with each student with unconditional positive regard. We are here, we're cheering for you, we're trying to find ways to help you be successful. We're trying to remove barriers that are preventing you from being successful. And so when she says, when you walk in here, you just feel love, you just feel cared for, that's what she's talking about. Another thing we do a lot of things to build relationships. One of them is we have 3 reward days a semester. This is us earlier this year going to Branson, what's it called? Big Air in Branson, where we jumped on trampolines for a few hours, and these kids had the time of their life and listened to stories about, yeah, I remember doing this one time when I was a kid and I haven't been here for so long, and watching them turn back into elementary and middle school students and run and jump and scream and squeal is an educational experience that these students don't typically get to have. And so that's us taking a picture all hot and sweaty after we had good fun for a few hours. We have a reward day tomorrow where we're eating them a Christmas dinner and going to a movie and going to the OC and playing kickball or something in the gym. So stuff like that makes them feel valued. We also have family nights. This is us at Culver's. Culver's does a tremendous job supporting us. We go and we pass out whatever food, just help Culver's, and they give us a percentage of their night. We made $400 in one night, and all of the students' families came and ate at Culver's together, and building those connections with families is certainly powerful, especially for these kids. Before we're out, I do want to clear up some misconceptions that I've run into over my time between both other faculty members, kids I've coached. One is that Finley is a choice program. What that means is it is not accurate at all to say we teach the bad kids. That's what I've been asked before. You apply and choose to go to Finley School, and as a teacher, you apply and choose to go to Finley School, and taking an active choice in your educational experience is something that's valuable. We teach the same schedule. We are on 4 block just like the high school is. Our students take classes that have the same credit requirements. We teach the same curriculum as the high school, so there's no deviation from any of that, and they walk at graduation right alongside a non-Finley student. So those things are not always the case at other alternative schools, but they are the case at Ozark. When you graduate from Ozark Family School, you're graduating having done the same coursework and put in the same time. We did actually bring what we're going to call a typical Finley student, although Fran is not typical. Fran is a Finley superstar who is just going to talk for a minute too about her experiences.
I came to Finley my senior year. I had already moved schools twice previously.
There you go.
Sorry. I came to Finley my senior year. I had already moved schools twice previously, and I was really hopeless. I feel like I needed extra help that nobody cared enough to give. I was failing most of my classes, and I thought that there was no absolute way to get out from where I was. That was really, really hard on me because all I wanted to do was go to college. Everyone told me that was completely impossible from where I was. That was all up until I went to Finley. Those teachers would stay up 24 hours just to re-explain something to me if I didn't understand it. They saw me, made me feel understood, and helped me reach my full potential. They pushed all of us to continue our education in such a positive way, and all of the help will never go unnoticed. Today, I am a freshman at Mississippi State University, and I can proudly say that thanks to Miss Leonard, Mr. Perry, Miss Stein, and Miss Middleton. I would not be where I am today without the school and the help of the staff. And I am so excited to see other kids have great successes because of this school. Finley has had a life-changing impact on me, and I could not be more grateful.
So in closing, this photo is from us after another award day last year where we packed a Waffle House in Springfield. And it was a top 3 Finley memory for me. Anecdotally, I would also like to add this. Our space is phenomenal. I won't also ever forget watching the students walk into a fresh, everything brand new, clean space that was created just for them, because a lot of times, those students don't get nice new things handed to them, and it has been transformational as far as how we're able to provide for those students. The space that we were able to create for our Christmas dinner tomorrow, on your way out, walk through it, it's beautiful and awesome, and those kids will remember it forever. So, Finley School is absolutely a piece of the Ozark School District that should be celebrated, and that is functioning unbelievably well and graduating 30 students a year and housing 40 to 45 students every year, and has a significant impact on the overall school district. So thanks for giving us time tonight and recognizing us, and we appreciate what you've done for us.
Next, we have request of district patrons. Siggy Hill.
Correct, before you start recording the time, I just want to refer to what my approach is, and that is the agenda item 15, Assistant Superintendent Report, regarding the document of accomplishment, I believe that's what it was. So, anyways, now you can start. Okay, so reading this PDF leads me to some questions about your awareness, and I'm talking to the school board. The school board's task is to oversee the district's administration and the dollars that the taxpayers are forced to provide. Instead, the parents and patrons observe your patronizing and allowing the administration to lie, intercede, and browbeat the parents and patrons with SEI, DEL, collecting data instead of teaching academics, keeping busy schedules instead of quiet learning. Per Carson stated last week in the town hall that there was no CRT, SEL, and DEI taught in Ozark. However, two 17-year-old IB students requested free speech control, our constitutional First Amendment, using media literacy. The next moment, Craig Carson agrees with the two immature IB students that media literacy is already taught in the school from kindergarten on, and you laughed about that. On page 4 of this document is stated that SEL is taught in Ozark School District, and you allow it. A 14-year-old girl committed suicide on her 15th birthday, October 8th, and you helped hiding this tragic event from the public, taking the opportunity away from parents to nurture and protect their children from influences of this perverted occurrence. Bob Templeton's demographics presented predicted enrollment decrease based on obvious facts. However, you allowed the district to misconstrue that information into major student growth and therefore the need of levy increase and bond issues. So the district increase is obviously not growing, and also you are stating we have 18 languages taught in the school, so we have a new English teacher. I see signs of infiltration of illegal immigrants, and the taxpayer has no chance to be even consenting to that. However, we have a bank director, we have a financial expert, we have a county HR director, and you as a board can't figure out the brainwashing of the deceit of the administration. Parents are fighting against the Doctor of Operations for Secure Bus Transport. Instead, you are vowing with the Doctor of Operations to continue to deny the safety for the students. One or maybe two or all board members are heavily involved in infiltrating the illegitimate bully organization MSBA into our school and community, irresponsibly ignoring the uproar about these Marxist organizations destroying our country and education. You allow DEL, SEL-driven organizations in our school system to be implemented and our precious children to be turned into activists against God and country. Do you see the sudden eruption of student riots in the country? Do you realize that it starts in our high schools, locally in Ozark taught as well? Where is your conscience? How do you look into the eyes of your family, of your children? and of your parents, knowing that you're contributing to the ruining of the district children's lives and future by covering the admin instead of protecting the parents and patrons, your constituent and your children from the Marxist influences. You claim that you are distracted by silent whispers in the audience. However, we watch you texting and motioning to each other during the meetings and answering your phones. Is that not distracting you? That is shameful.
Thank you. And next we have David Criswell.
Hi, I'm Debbie. To raise this up a little bit. I really didn't know anything about this Finley River School. I mean, I was impressed. I am an overburdened taxpayer. Everyone probably knows that 70% of our tax money goes to the school. And my question is, as a taxpayer whose taxes increase every year, unfortunately, why do we need the position of a superintendent, of an assistant superintendent, and all of the staff that goes along with that, with these overpaid positions? Does it require a doctor of education to be a manager? I don't really know, but I'm thinking not. Manage the school property, manage human resources, manage school treasury. Is there not a principal in every school? Doesn't he or she manage the schools in the other schools? Or all schools across the Creechin County, I would assume? We are top-heavy with administrators. When businesses are top-heavy and businesses functioning above budget, they either cut pay of employees or go under. Unless you are in the school system, because when you're part of the school system, you actually get a pay increase because you just raise taxes. And so I'm wondering if possibly I'm a day late and a dollar short, because I think you've already appointed a superintendent, but taxes keep going up. As you all well know, you keep paying more and more taxes as well. We need to cut spending. We need to cut back on top-heavy superintendents and staff positions. We must count the cost, or the system will fail. I'm fed up with high taxes, just like all the other citizens in the community, and the school never has enough money. They're always asking for more. That's mine. Was that a question? A statement and a question. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to informational items. We have MSTA. Yes, next switch. We'll move on to informational items, MSTA. And we have Ms. Raja.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? All right, I am here to present just some good information that we have collectively bargained for the staff recently. So last time I was here, I said we were getting ready to send out our collective bargaining survey to our staff. Those results have come back, and Dr. Wilson and I were able to sit down, look at all of that information together, and it was her idea for me to bring some of those top points to you guys to the board. We had some really great positive feedback, and so bringing a little bit of light and positivity to tonight. So we collectively bargained over 6 big things. So the first thing I'm going to start with is salary. That's a big topic within our district, obviously. We have a range of salaries from our paras to administration. Overall, we are seeing that the equitability is what people want to see, but people also just really want to be well informed. And Dr. Wilson and I have had great conversations about our superintendent's advisory and how being more transparent about where the funding comes from, so that staff is more aware of what those salaries look like and where money comes from in order to provide those salaries to those people. And so just some great conversations there around salary. The next thing that we collectively bargain is benefits. So that can be anything from healthcare, dental, vision, your days off, all of those things. Our main thing that staff want to see is obviously affordable healthcare, especially for a family. That's hard. But just with good conversation and looking at what can we do for staff and opening up that conversation to more than one person might be a great idea. We've also talked about looking at ways that we can offer staff benefits in a way that is conducive for all and not just great for a 12-month employee versus a 9-month employee. Those are very two different types of contracts. The next thing we collectively bargain is the calendar. This calendar, usually we build that around our students. They're our center. When students come to school and when students, how many days they have to be here, etc. Lots of conversation around calendar being cohesive to things like the OTC calendar, because we have students who do both. I have a personal child who got to go home a couple of days this week because he didn't have class at OTC. I was a little jealous. So making sure, that our calendar aligns well, spring break wise with our college courses. But also we have to consider that we have some of our staff who their kids go to other districts because of other reasons. And so looking at other districts and being cohesive with other districts in our area and being competitive with that. So what does that look like for us? And so those are great conversations Dr. Wilson and I had as well, and making sure that we are also providing just safety in our buildings too, in regards to our calendar as well. The next thing we collectively bargain on is professional development, which that's, how are we growing our staff to be well educated each year? We had what we would call kind of a pendulum swing this year, where a lot of our staff really want to see growth come back and teaching our own. And we've had a lot of outside resources come in and do some great teaching. We've had some great teaching from Westa Kishnick, from Cassie Erkins, all great, wonderful professionals we have learned a lot from, but our staff have also felt like we have really great professionals within our district that they can learn from. And so looking at kind of revamping maybe a half and half type of situation where we can learn from both would be something that we'd be interested in. The next thing we collectively bargain on is stipends. This was not something that, as an elementary person, that I'm super familiar with, because this just doesn't happen in my world. But it is something that people are interested in knowing, well, what are the requirements for a stipend? What are the qualifications? Because it's just it's something that if you live in this world, you know a lot about it. But if you don't, every year I get questions about, I don't know if this applies to me or not. Am I eligible for a stipend? Am I not? And so that was just a great conversation that Dr. Wilson and I were able to have about, people may not know what really qualifies as stipend for someone and what doesn't. And so we're excited to be able to take that information back. The next thing we just ask staff about in general is educational practices. We had some great feedback about our Monday PLCs, and just that time is valuable when it is structured by the building principals, and just some really good feedback about how they're able to accomplish a lot on those days. They feel validated. Principals feel like they're able to get a lot of things done. There was a little bit of feedback about, sometimes I felt like I got more done on my Fridays. And so that piece was there too. I'm not saying it was all one-sided. Everybody loves the Mondays, but overall, it was very much appreciative that that was put in our calendar to give staff those Mondays, one Monday a month, to be able to meet collaboratively and to have those educational practice times. Another thing that was just resounding on our surveys was a lot of people took the time to really praise our administration and the hard work that they're doing right now. A lot of people talked about Dr. Wilson being in the building as the interim principal and that her face is in our buildings, that she's knocking on classroom doors. They've talked about our administration being supportive of them through the knee surveys and having those conversations after an observation to make them grow. So just some really great things that came back in our educational practices piece that we felt like were super positive that we wanted to bring to you tonight. We are looking forward to moving forward with things in a way that can be collaborative for all. And Dr. Wilson and I have some great ideas for that we hope to bring to you in the future. That's all for tonight.
Thank you so much, appreciate that. That's great information for us to have. Next, we have Grow Tower Farm, Natural Resources and Agriculture Academy.
So I'm excited to talk to you about the Grow Tower Farm. We plugged one in just so you can see it. It won't be actually this particular style. This is a grow tower that is for residential, but it will be a grow tower that is somewhat like this. And so we are partnering with the Macaulay Foundation, and the Macaulay Foundation is Dr. Nicole Macaulay. She is a PD something or another, long term, but she's a doctor in the area, and they have a foundation where they help businesses, which would be like least of these, or they help school districts to raise money to start grow tower farms. And it's all about having the ability to grow your own vegetables and to do it in an organic manner that is actually cost savings for the organization, and it allows people to have fresh vegetables year-round. And so, interesting thing, if you buy organic produce that's grown outside of Missouri, then as it's going across state lines, because states are worried about bringing bugs from one part of the country to another part of the country, every time that truck passes state lines, it's actually sprayed. So it may have grown organically the whole time it was in the ground, but as it goes across the country, it gets sprinkled. These are actually organic. They would not be, they would stay organic. The way this would work, the Macaulay Foundation would help us secure grants, and they would be in the neighborhood of 100,000 plus, and the grants would allow us to have all startup costs to have between 50 and 100. It'd be more on the 100 range, but I'm not exactly sure the number. We would look at our greenhouse size and just look at projected grow, how much we want to grow versus how many towers we need. We want to have enough towers to have enough greens to feed the OIC and the high school. We would love to be able to do either the junior high or the middle school as well, but I'm not sure that we would be able to produce that many greens. It is pretty exciting. I went to Rogers this past week and looked at the Grow Tower farm there, and it's the differences between the green of the lettuce that you buy in the grocery store and the green of the lettuce that you see in the it's just incredible. There's 30% more nutrients in a head of lettuce grown through aeroponics than there is if you buy it at the grocery store. The color is just, I have my wife with me who knows that more than I do, because she buys those more than I, and she was just astounded. And I tasted, they had some basil there, and it was just marvelous. So the exciting part is our students would be able to help produce the lettuce, and they would help market the lettuce as well. We would market it to ourselves first. So it would be like a client-connected partnership would be with the Ozark School District. And we would also market it in the months that we are not open, we would market it to farmers market, and we could give it to shelters, and we can sell it to just general public, or we can sell it to restaurants in the area. Typically, with these grow tower farms, it is head lettuce of some, well, it's not really head, it's a leaf lettuce, which would be like a butter crisp lettuce. And then they also do spinach, and they do a romaine. And the romaine aren't the long, really pale green romaines. When they're grown on a grow tower, they aren't as long, so they look more like a head, more like leaf lettuce, but they're just as crisp. They're actually quite wonderful. I was looking there. So the students would be able to work on capstones, working in the greenhouse, and they would also be able to do SAE, which is a supervised agriculture experience, and that's through FFA, and so students do SAE currently. This would give those students who either they don't live on a farm or live on have the resources to do an SAE, they would be able to do that project here on our property. And with that, we would also employ a full-time grow tower farmer, and the farmer would be around the cost of a full-time teacher, but that cost would be net neutral with the profits of the lettuce. So it's actually overall, it's a net neutral. They predict that we will make money on it. I'm just going for net neutral, because I don't want to, but they do predict, where they've seen it other places, that it actually ends up making money in the end. That farmer will have a teaching certificate, a sub-certificate, which would allow him or her to supervise students that are working over in the greenhouse. And we're talking about the greenhouse that's up the hill. And right now it's currently used for some botany courses. And so we would still balance some of that botany courses in there, and they have room down here for some of the botany to be able to do down here. So it will be an exciting venture moving forward. It's all hinges on getting the grants for the project, and we're just in the initial stage of trying to make all the pieces work. Currently in Christian County, NICSA has partnered with Macaulay Foundation, and they have, it's not going to be as large of a production as what we would have, and they're not trying to feed as many people either with it. And their teacher is helping do all of that work. And our goal is that we're not layering any more work on the teacher, but having the farmer gives that. I wouldn't even recommend the program if we're asking more of our FFA sponsors and our agriculture teachers. So this would be, it would complement the natural resources pathway, but it wouldn't be more on their plates. So it's an exciting time, and I look forward to moving forward and just keeping you updated as we go forward with that. Once we would secure a loan, we would come to you all and get your blessing on the grant, not loan, on the grant. We would get your blessing on the grant before we signed it. But I was just trying to inform you, just so you know where we were in the process, and just I think it's an exciting venture that we get to do some client-connected projects right here. And what I also love is potentially we could look at, you approved registered youth apprenticeships last month, and so it could also be a type of a registered youth apprenticeship as well. So just a lot of great potential and some unknowns at the same time. So we will walk it carefully. And again, my goal is for this not to be additional costs to the school district. It would pay for itself. Questions?
How long, I saw where it says the grants would provide startup costs approximately $80,000 to $100,000. How long until Grow Farm starts?
Good, so thank you. The grow farm typically is once you get it installed, it's about 6 months until it's at full production. And that first year, it's pretty much can offset the cost. But with the grants that you're given, their goal is to offset it. If you don't have a good startup, it's where it's still the first 2 years is where there's no cost for us. Yeah. Thank you for that question. Other questions?
Thank you, Dr. Carson.
Yeah, thank you.
Next, we'll move on to reports. We have MSBA update report, Patty Pleasantberry.
I don't have a report update today.
Okay, we have superintendent's report next, Dr. Wilson.
I don't at this point have any legislative updates, but I did want to bring to your attention, I think when you walked in, you saw pictures on the slide of a lot of the accolades for either our athletes or our teachers. So I want to make sure that you see that as you're coming in. But there are a few that I will need help on just a little bit, just to let you know what's happened in this past month. This morning, actually, Dr. Carson received an award. And it was the first, you have to help me here, it was with Reading Recovery, and it was the first annual Linda Dorn?
Yes, Leadership Award.
Leadership Award. So there is a Reading Recovery conference in Branson, and they honored him with this award, so we want to say great job. We also had Yancy Little, our athletic director. He was inducted, they don't know that I'm talking about this, he was inducted yesterday into the Missouri Hall of Fame, Sports Hall of Fame, yes. And not only was he inducted as a coach, because he has had a stellar career and has won at least, or very close to, has had 700 wins, which is unheard of in a career. But not only that, our girls basketball team from 2005 to 2006, they were both teams were inducted into the Sports Hall of Fame also. And yesterday, there were, 800 people in the room potentially, and Ozark was unbelievably represented, because you were there. Yeah, it was unbelievably represented, so that's great. I also, and you'll have to help me with the correct one on this one too, Dr. Roy at South, she also has received an award, and it is the regional, they said this morning, regional elementary principal of the year. So that is great. And then Miss River, she has received the assistant principal of the year. So we have great things, not only with our students, but also with our administrators happening in the district.
Thank you. Wonderful. Great to hear. Next, we'll move on to Assistant Superintendent's report. Any questions or comments? We've had time to read through those and ask questions. Next, we have future dates. December 21st through January 3rd is Christmas break. January 4th, classes resume. January 8th is our board work session at 5 p.m. at the OIC. Our board meeting is the 16th from 6:30 to 8, and our work session is the 8th. So it's correct, it's written. And that is Ozark Middle School long-range planning on the 16th. And January 18th is our regular board meeting, 7 p.m. here. Any other comments or on that, Dr. Wilson? Approve consent agenda next, number 17. Okay, and Mark Jenkins is recusing himself for the vote due to a family member on the agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Patty, second by Aaron. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? And Mark recuses, so thank you. Somebody go get that.
We have the restroom.
Oh, yeah. Where's the let's not go in there. Let's see here, approval of the Board of Education open session minutes. And I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Board of Education open session minutes as presented from November the 16th board meeting.
I'll second.
Motion made, all in favor, or discussion? Do you have discussion? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? New business. We have a presentation from our auditors, APM. Welcome. We have a new face tonight. After how many years?
It was time, right? Hello, I'm Matt Wallace, shareholder with KPM CPAs. As mentioned, you guys are probably used to seeing Andy Marmaget, so you get a new face. He's in the process of retiring. So it's been probably about a decade since I was out here doing the audit, so you guys got a fresh set of eyes. So I'm happy to be back. Tonight, I'll just briefly hit some of the highlights of the 2023 financial statement audit results. If you're following along, we're going to start on page 3. There are really 3 separate engagements that we conduct during our financial statement audit. The first one there on page 3 is the financial statement audit. The reason you all hire us is for us to issue an opinion as to whether your financial statements are presented fairly in accordance with modified cash basis of accounting. I'm pleased to report the district did receive an unmodified opinion, which means that the financial statements are presented fairly. Main opinion, the best opinion you can receive from a financial statement audit. Another way to look at that is that there's reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free from material misstatements. So definitely want to congratulate the district on that. Next, I want to go to page 11 and just hit some of the highlights of the financial statements. Real briefly on page 11, we have the statement of receipts, disbursements, and changes in fund balance. Sorry, that's on page, do I have control of that? There we go. Perfect. So on page 11, we have the statement of receipts, disbursement, and changes in fund balance. Basically the income statement for the district. And again, just to hit the highlights there, your first column, the general fund, you'll see total receipts are right at $30.3 million. That was down about $1.6 million from the prior year. But really that was offset by that second column, your special revenue fund, which is your teachers fund, of about $40 million. That was up about $1.2 million. Your largest adjustment between the two of those, or your largest change, was really fluctuation in federal funding, timing of your education stabilization funds. Wanted to point out, of course, we're talking about June 30, 2023, but at June 30, 2023, you all had about $3.5 million left to draw on your education stabilization funding. Continuing down, total disbursements in the general fund were right at $28.5 million. That was up about $900,000. And again, in the second column there, your special revenue fund, your teachers fund, was right at $41.5 million in total disbursements. That was up about $1.9 million. In both of those funds, the majority of the increases in that instruction line item related to salaries and benefits for the district. Continuing down, you'll see overall the net change in fund balance was a net decrease of about $1.7 million, leaving an ending fund balance, or another way to look at that is your cash and investment balance, of about $17.8 million. On this page, I also like to point out in the general fund and special revenue fund, your operating reserves, so basically your cash and investment balance in comparison to your total operating expenses for the general and special revenue fund. Your unrestricted fund balance percentage at June 30, 2023 was right at 25.36%. That's another way to look at that is the district will be able to operate about 3 months without any receipts coming in. As a general rule of thumb, our recommendation is always have about 3 months to get it right where you're supposed to be in our recommendation. One other item to point out there is the second to last column, your capital projects fund. Just wanted to point out there was overall a net change in the capital projects fund of about $10.7 million. leaving an ending balance of about $26.4 million. A lot of that's associated with spend down of your debt proceeds that you've had over the past couple of years. So a lot of your capital projects, projects that were going on, the funding associated with that. And the last column there, your overall fund balance for the school district was right at $49.7 million for the year. Next, I want to go to page 12. So on the very next page there, you see this is the first page of the notes to the financial statements. I always like to point out, as you're reviewing the financial statement package, it's a great place to go for more detail. So when we talk about cash, investments, debt, and really any other line item in your actual financial statements, you're going to find an associated note with that to have more detail to review that. Nothing I want to go over there specifically, just wanted to point out, as you read through the notes, that was part of our audit process. So that is part of the opinion that we have. Next, I want to go to page 44. So in addition to the financial statement audit, we also conduct the federal compliance audit. Anytime you all have more than $750,000 in federal expenses, you all had about $7.4 million, so you met that threshold. So you have about $7.4 million in federal funding. So with that, we're required to conduct a federal compliance audit. You'll see there that there were two major programs, or two federal programs that we had to audit, which was your education stabilization funds and Title I funding. Please report, you can read through that report. That's really where you have a good summary of what we did there. But you can read through that and see that the district did not have any compliance findings, nor any internal control findings over those major programs. So again, that's the best results you can have on a federal compliance audit. I want to congratulate the district on that as well. And lastly, I wanted to go to page 48. On page 48, we have the first page of our state compliance examination. So the DESE requires, when the school district is receiving funding, a lot of the information that the district provides is what results in the funding that the district receives. Information like attendance, transportation, free and reduced counts, several different items, including other state laws and regulations. They ask us to test specific items related to that. And that's the beginning of this page is the beginning of that report. I suggest reading through that in your own time, but the district did not have any compliance findings over that state compliance section, so definitely again want to congratulate the school district on that. I always like to point out, and it's on that first page there, one of the biggest drivers for your funding, of course, is the attendance hours that you'll have. That had about 6.1 million hours for the district for the year 2023. That was up about 40,000 hours from the prior year. So up a little bit from the prior year as far as that funding is concerned. Other than that, in closing, of course, everyone at the district was very professional. Walked was great to work with Dr. Wilson and her staff. And of course, it's not just the finance team, there's a lot of other people that help us out as well throughout the district, so we definitely appreciate that. They always give us full access to the system, very transparent, we definitely appreciate that. Great to work with. Definitely want to thank the board for allowing me to present tonight, and I can answer any questions y'all have at this time.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions? Thank you for your time. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Dr. Wilson does have my contact information. If there are any questions throughout the year, always available. So
Certainly.
Definitely appreciate that.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks.
And I definitely take advantage of that.
Yes.
I do.
And next we have Laserfish Digital Records. We have a motion. I will entertain a motion to approve the audit.
Make a motion that we approve the 22-23 audit as presented.
Motion by Patty,
Second.
second by Aaron, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Now we'll move on to Laserfish Digital Records contract. I'll entertain a motion in a second, and we'll have discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve the Laserfish Digital Records contract as presented.
Motion by Patty,
Second.
second by Aaron, and now we can have discussion. Is the recommendation to approve the contract as presented, and you have the contract in front of you, and are there any questions or discussions? I just think it'd be a good idea just to briefly explain what it is, what's it for, what it's not.
Sure, I can do that. Did you get all that? I was talking while that was happening. Did you get all that? Okay, so basically what this is that we are trying to develop the procedures and the protocols for maintaining our records. So for example, this is a records management system. And I'll give you an example of what we're talking about. These are not student records. This is so, in the past when we have switched, for example, we have switched databases, like what were we, something before Tyler, and we have all of the transcripts. They're all in paper form. And so when last winter, when we had that flood at the high school, we were in danger of losing this information. So this is a records management system that would allow us to archive information, allow us to archive asset records as well as tax records, bank records, our human resource, some of our human resources. We have to keep I-9s, for example. We have to keep that separate, and we have files upon files and files of I-9s. So this would allow us to have better management of our records. It is definitely a locked down system. We are looking at only having 5 people to have access to this. And the system also, you know, there are state and federal laws on how long you have to keep records. And so with this system, instead of us saying, oh, we gotta go back and remind ourselves to delete this or take this out, it will give us the notification and help us keep the proper records for exactly the time that we need to have them. So this is definitely something that is needed in our district. So I would ask that you would approve it.
Is it something that's housed with us, or it's housed by a third party?
It is housed by a third party in the cloud.
But it's ours.
Yes, it's our data. Yes, it is our data. Yeah.
What is that third party?
What is that?
Is their name Laserfish? Is that their name?
That is the name of the company. And then, like, for example, I know that Mr. Jenkins had asked about the cloud-based. I'll read this to you if this helps. Laserfish cloud-based system offers a built-in data backup and disaster recovery capabilities. Records are replicated across multiple geographical dispersed data centers, ensuring that organizations can quickly restore their records and resume operations even in the event of a hardware failure or natural disaster. So that doesn't give you the exact name. If you're looking for a system name, but the company is Laserfish.
Where are they based? Are they in California? I noticed that it says they address privacy regulations.
Is it the same one the health department uses?
Any other questions or discussion? Thank you for meeting with us, and again, each month offering to meet with us and answer any questions beforehand and have that time. Any other? Okay. All in favor of the motion, the recommendation to approve the Laserfish digital records contract is presented. All in favor? Any opposed? Did you have some more questions? You're abstaining, okay. One abstention, thank you. MSBA policy, second read, please.
I'd like to ask that we consider these separately. I know the recommendation is consider them all together, but I'd like to consider them separately because there are a couple that I have some thoughts that we should discuss.
I think I would make an motion to accept the recommendation as presented, but then we can go in to talk about each of them. That would be mine.
I'll second that. We have a motion by Amber for the recommendation, second by Patty, and now we can discuss and ask questions. Any discussion?
Are we seeing another order, like?
It's just your discussion on anything.
Okay, like for example, BPF. There were just some things on that one, which I think might even be better if we tabled approving that one until next month, so we can talk about our work session instead of tonight, have our 2-week long marathon
late night meetings, but just some things to talk about, like, kind of takes away the specifics. And some of them I would suggest keeping. We can talk about it tonight if we want to, but I mean, it takes away the specifics and kind of talks about things that are kind of board norms that we had said we were going to discuss later, and I think it's worth talking about some of them. That's one example, maybe.
And what's your question?
Well, I would recommend that we table this until next month, to talk about it next month, so that we can, like I would say, okay, let's, on the back, the ones that are lined out, old BBF, and we said we're making these changes on the back, I would recommend let's keep number 2. Okay, the laws of Missouri and the United States. Now, they've kind of consolidated some of those things, but I think that's an important one to leave in there. It's not, I didn't find it in any of the, I don't know if I'm getting into the nuts and bolts of all the different things tonight, or if you want to talk about that later. I've got some more. What's that?
You take office.
But it's not in this policy. Did I miss it? I'm not trying to dictate, it has to be this or that, I'm trying to have a discussion, so if you think it's included somewhere else, feel free to say that.
But it does say we are obligated to
I
follow
can't
the
hear
law.
you very well, I'm sorry.
I heard it because I forgot. It does say we are obligated to follow the law. And the new one,
Where's that?
under duty of public trust. Line 4.
Yeah, that's it, okay. Good. How about number 7? On the back, the line down, number 7, the old policy said, render all decisions based on the available facts and independent judgment, rather than succumbing to the influence of individuals or special interest groups. I don't care so much if we line out the last clause rather than that, but I would think the first one was an important one to keep. Render all decisions based on the available facts and independent judgment. I kind of like that. It encourages us and points out that we should be investigating and hearing many perspectives, making sure that we are hearing all the information or finding all the information, or at least requesting all the information.
I wouldn't mind to keep that one, but I want the whole sentence because I think it goes to say what we're not making decisions about. Because special interest groups should not be pushing their agenda on us.
Right.
But, I mean, I'm saying I would consent to leaving that one, but I'm not saying we have to. I mean, obviously,
Yeah, I'm just trying to have discussion.
I'm not opposed to it.
I like these things. What do you guys think? Number 7 in there?
I do think that it is explaining it, it's just not worded the exact same way. That's I mean, it's there.
Right, just more general and more vague, and I kind
But
of
it's there.
like the specifics.
I know,
That's,
but
yeah.
I like policy, it's not. Because I mean, you can't write a policy for every single thing.
Right.
So when we write it, like all of these things, kind of. I'm sorry,
I just didn't hear the last of what you said.
You're encompassing it.
Encompassing. Okay, I was gonna recommend keep number 7 and number 12, the one on the back from the old policy that was lined up. Maintain a process of regular and systematic assessment of the educational system in order to provide accountability for the school district. Kind of like that being in there also, talking about not just generally, oh, we're gonna provide some accountability, but actually some specifics about how.
I mean, so some of these I'm kind of 7, 8, 12, when I kind of look at them. in the big picture, and, something you said as far as specific things. I think those are also general statements as well. Like, I think that's where I think it's a different, like, you may like, whether I like the wording better, number 12 versus, anything up above, they're both summaries. They're not saying anything specific. It says, to regularly, systematic assessment. What is regular and systematic? Is that every 5 years? Is that every 5 minutes? Is that every month? You know what I mean? Like, it's general here, it's general up there. I don't know that, I think we're splitting hairs with a lot of it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, I get what you're saying, the wording, I don't want to discount the wording by any means, because I think that's what, I like that it's written, I agree there, but I also think it's all generalities.
Where did you think that same one was at the bottom? I don't want to split hairs.
Can you speak up, please?
I was just asking him where it was up above.
I think it is encompassed in several, different things, whether it was, in duty of care and governing through the board. There's just a lot that it divides up in there when you start talking about us assessing the district. That's a lot of what we're doing the entire time.
I just kind of like, when you grade papers, you have a rubric, and you're like, okay, this stuff, they get these many points, this stuff, they get these many points. You just check off and make sure that they include everything they're supposed to do. And I just kind of like, there are some things that need to be definitely included in the board. This is just my opinion, but what board members ought to make sure they're doing. And this one is maintain a process for, and, we can decide if we want every 5 minutes or every 5 months or what, maintain a process where we definitely do these. I mean, what do you think about K-12?
I agree. I believe the parts that are highlighted in green, the new part, the key principles to be observed, upholding these responsibilities, duties, and care, loyalty, and public trust. All of that is within those next 3 sets of statements, I believe. And I even just now saw you talked about the laws earlier. That first statement, board members accept the fiduciary responsibility of holding a public office for school district governments on behalf of district residents in accordance with the laws of Missouri and the United States. It says it.
And that's talking about what responsibilities we have that the law sets out for our responsibilities. I mean, like this one back here says, obey the laws. That includes.
But it says under duty. But it says it under duty of public trust, obligation to follow the law.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, I agree with you about the that's fine. So I'm not going to quibble if you want to take out 12, but I think that's what we're at least talking about, keep it in there. One thing I would add, are you ready to move on to the next one? On number 6, in the green, the new stuff, they're recommending that we use instead number 6, delegate board policy administration and school operations to a qualified superintendent and maintain productive professional relationship with the superintendent and staff. I would add the adjective supervisory. Delegate board policy administration and school operations to a qualified superintendent and maintain a supervisory productive professional relationship with the superintendent and district staff. Since we were taking out 12 anyway, about making sure that, I mean, that's our duty as laid out in the statute. That's why there is a board of education, is for that oversight. And I think it's important to include that.
It's our responsibility to supervise the superintendent, not district staff. So I wouldn't add that to that line in that way.
How would you add it instead?
I wouldn't. I leave it.
I agree.
Something else to consider on number 1, I agree with this in general, but I think it's missing a few things. Remember that the first and greatest concern must be the educational welfare of the district students. That's true, but also we talk often about safety first. And also, we really won't be able to do much for the educational welfare of the students without making sure we're taking care of the staff. So I think all of those things ought to be included in there.
So and part of this is, some of this gets into personality and how you read it and how you're interpreting it as well. But if we were to talk about one thing, if we were focused, and, the board were focused on the welfare of our students, that's going to overlap into we're gonna have the best interest of our teachers as well. That is all, that's when you start talking about, but I am a big believer, you focus on one thing and it's going to, it fills the other things as well. You can start stretching this out and policies get long and, the more you add in a policy, in my opinion, the more cumbersome and confusing it gets.
I think there needs to be specifics to keep the direction going right.
And the motion is to approve the policies as presented.
That's why I wanted to talk about them one at a time. So can we vote on this one?
No, let's just go to the next.
Okay. Ready for the next one?
Now,
Ready to go to the next one? Go ahead, please. Okay, so I like this one, but I think it needs some correction, so that's why I wanted to do it one at a time. I'm fine with the BBA one. I don't have any comments on that one. I don't have any comments on the fixing that sentence in the GDBDA-R11. That one's fine. But I do have quite a few things to say about the proposed policy. And so once again,
It's not listed in the list, right?
yes, it is, yeah, that's, once again, I recommend we take them apart.
Oh, okay.
And I kind of recommend that we table this one until next month so we can talk about it when we're fresh and not at the end of a 2-week marathon of decisions.
We've had this proposal in our email, and we've had it for the last week as a board agenda.
Okay,
I'm ready to vote on it.
Me too.
okay.
I find it violates federal due process for teachers, and as a board member, it's our responsibility to ensure the school's operation. It's not our responsibility to run them. I think that's infringing upon that as well, which is why I don't feel like that it even merits a discussion.
Okay, I'd like to add something to it. We read the attorney's advice on it, which, however many different attorneys you want to ask, you probably can't get that many different opinions. And we read some advice from other places that I think lots of them were not just common sense kind of unreasonable, but legally speaking, if you go and look up the law, they're misinformed. They are inaccurate. And so if you want, I'll tell you some of the things. Okay. Since this policy was clearly amending the way either a termination hearing is being held or a suspension is being held, there's no reason to not know what policy it was amending. It was amending policy GCPE or GCPD. Both of those have to do with either suspension hearings or termination hearings. And both of those are based pretty much on state statute, what the state statute says. We could say that was modifying either section C or D. There was a problem with the fact that it didn't mention which policy it was. So if I'm telling you it was GCPE or GCPD, you can tell just by looking at the policies that are in existence and seeing what it amends. So here's a couple of different dissecting kinds of questions. I'm an analytical person from what things the attorney suggested. So I just want to make sure I'm understanding what is being said. That if a teacher appeals a decision of an administrator, to the board, that somehow violates their due process? Right, that's exactly what due process is having a chance to appeal and to have a hearing, a teacher, an employee, anybody. And in policy GCPD and policy AC and the state statutes that those are based on, each one of those actually spells out that they are supposed to have a hearing. Policy AC goes through the grievance policy, the grievance procedure. And if they work their way through the different channels, eventually they can appeal that decision to the board, and the board is supposed to hear it. And you might remember when Mr. Peterson was here, the executive director of board training, and he talked about even if there's an appeal, an employee appeals a decision of the administration to the board, especially the superintendent, if that gets appealed to the board owes that person, that employee, a right to have that hearing. And that's what this policy is addressing, that there's a hearing, that there is information sought from both sides. State statute spells out that it has to be public. The attorney suggested that it shouldn't be public, but state statute spells out that it has to be in some cases, and our policies say they have to be public also. So just some different things in there that have been suggested or recommended that I don't think quite make sense. There's another one. If an employee asks to be heard by the board, then it's a violation of the Missouri tenure law. I don't think there's any way to justify that. If you read what the Missouri tenure law, it just says the different specifications for reasons why a tenured teacher can be terminated. There's no justification for that. There's another one, they said it's a violation of board policy. And as I've already talked about, it's actually if they had a hearing, if they did get to appeal a decision to the board, then that would actually be going along with and complying with board policy.
But they can't have a hearing at the end. I mean, there's policy for hearing. You can't know it up until this. The 14th Amendment says that they get to appeal, and we have to be a neutral party, so we can't get in the weeds.
If after they're fired, that's one case. But in other cases, if they're suspended, state statute says if they're suspended for more than 30 days, they're supposed to have a hearing before the board. If they're suspended for more than 30 days, the superintendent brings a report to the board. There are many different examples of times when the board hears from one side what's happening, and they're supposed to also hear from the other side. That's the definition of due process. The 14th Amendment guarantees that due process.
To a fair and neutral hearing once the decision is made.
Before the decision is made, while they're suspended, before any other decision is made. That's what the state statute says.
I'm gonna call the question.
Okay, we have.
Yeah, several other things to say.
Motion to call the question.
Yeah.
Call the question.
I'll second that.
In order for the question to be called, which means debate will end and we'll vote, we need a 2/3 majority vote to take the vote. So all in favor of calling the question, raise your hand. Any opposed? Okay, nay. And so we will now vote on the motion, which is to approve the policies as presented. All in favor? As stated in the agenda.
The staff recommends.
Yeah, the staff recommendations, thank you. And all in favor? And any opposed? Thank you. Next, we have approving the CSIP. And, let's see here, Dr. Wilson, Dr. Persis.
Yeah, so we talked to you about, in October, we presented the results of the scorecard, and we talked about some changes we were going to make. The CSIP then is a reflection of those changes, and so you don't have them up. The main, I've got it in front of me, I'm good. I just want, you've had this, but the main pieces of the CSIP that are changed are the details of measurement. So we didn't actually change any of the board goals, they weren't touched. The strategies to attain those goals weren't changed. What was actually changed was the actual measurement piece. For example, technicalities like instead of ELA grades 3 through 8 being math, since we have the waiver, we took that out and it only talks about ELA EOCs because the EOCs are still in. So there are some pieces like that were changed inside it. And we added this year, instead of measuring our priority standards in just one measure, we've got two measures to look at priority standards. And so the first measure is we're looking across the standard. Let me grab my sheet of paper just so I can read it. So we're looking at how many priority standards across the district were mastered with an average of 3 or greater. So in a priority standard, you've got 1, 2, 3, or 4. So we're looking at how many of those priority standards did we have an average of 3 or better across the district. So we can say in a numeracy, so we have a numeracy standard, we look at that as a priority standard, and I can look across the district, and it will be on our webpage, someone can see that. Across the district, we had an average, out of 4, we had an average of 3.2 or something like that. So it would show, it would give a measure across to make sure that we're looking at the standards across the system. And then it's also going to be a measure of how many students, percentage-wise, mastered that particular standard. So we're trying to look at it across the system on how do we do on the standard itself. And then we're trying to look at the student level, how do we do the student level and how many students actually master it. So I'm trying to create a system where you can see 2 different looks at the standard itself, and then you can look at the number of students. So we can give you a better feel for how students master the standard or not. And that is, last year we just gave you a single number, and that single number is really ambiguous. And so we're trying to break those 2 numbers apart so you can understand that better, and we communicate that better to parents alike. Yes. Yes, it is. Well, an example would be, that's all right. An example would be, let me find my CSET. On page 2, performance measure, first column, at the bottom of page 2, it says 75% of the ELA priority standards will be mastered at 3 or greater by the end of the school year. So that's looking at the actual system standards. The column right beside it says 70% of students will master the majority of the ELA priority standards. So we're looking at standards right beside that. So now we're looking at both standards and students. So it gives you a clearer picture of what we're doing. That was repeated throughout the CSET. That's ELA. The next set is math, science, social studies, non-core. So it's repeated throughout. Then on strategic goal 2, which is looking at interventions, they were adjusted the same way as goal 1 in regard to looking at students and standard. That was the only change there. In strategic goal 3, where we're talking about how we work, we foster a culture of respect, and we're looking at recruitment and retention and professional development, due to the PLC Mondays that we have, we offered quite a bit before school started, and we offered quite a bit after school. Now we're including some of that into that PLC Mondays. So those were just to give you a sense that we took away some of those measures that now make no sense because we've changed the way we're offering professional development. So those were listed there. And the ones where we had, last year we said we're going to choose a climate survey. This year we actually put the climate survey goal on there. So if we had 4.4, then it's to be greater than 4.4. There wasn't an actual, we're looking for a percentage of improvement, we're just asking for improvement. And so that is under that climate survey. And we changed the range of staff members participating in wellness sessions because of the Monday thing again. So wellness, we had 400 plus participating in wellness sessions. Well, now the way we're only offering them, the way that's changed, we'll be looking at around 140, because most of that's offered on the Monday or offered at a professional development time. And strategic goal 4 is about the climate and culture, and we just put data to it instead of we're going to choose something. We just actually put data in there that matched this past year's climate survey. We just put the data in and asked for an increase. That's the goal, is we increase. And on page, let me see if I can find this, 416. I just want to remind you guys that you have a goal in this. 416. Yes, page 20 at the top. It says the Board of Education will meet at least 3 times a year in partnership of progress between the Ozark Chamber, Show Me Christian County, City of Ozark, and Christian County Commissioners.
I don't mean to laugh, but we haven't been doing.
That's our goal.
I need it.
And you meet with them all the time. So we
got
can,
chamber and.
yeah, so
Didn't we do that though once this semester? Of us, I'm not understanding what we did when we met at the First Baptist Church.
Yes.
yes, that would
State
be
of the
the state of the
community.
community. It could be something like county. So we can nix that goal. I just want to remind you it's there, and either we need to commit to the goal, or we take it away. That's up to you guys.
I like the goal when we started it, how many years ago? 7 or 8 years ago. It was to bring us together as partners with the city because things were going on in conflict or disagreement. And then we added in the chamber and the county. I think it's good to work as leaders in our community together. Whether it's something we want them to help understand and support, or maybe it's something that they want to. I think it's critical. And I helped get it started back those many years ago, and I'm willing to help get it going again.
And I was gonna say, just as someone involved in the chamber, knowing what's happening with the city, them hiring somebody new, we just hired somebody new. I think if there's ever a time that it's even more critical to make some of these things happen, it's probably right now.
I know the first 2 that we had, it was all about meeting each other and getting to know each other. That I could call, say you weren't on the board, you're a chamber member. I have your number and I could call you about something, or somebody who's from the city, I could call them, or the county. We did that at first, those first 2 meetings, we're getting to know each other as a board. And maybe that's something we need to do again, since there is new leadership coming.
Does it have to be as a group, Mr. Chairman? I'm sure we do it all on our own.
Oh, yeah.
We all were represented in all of those different.
Well, you all own the goal, so we can change it however we wish. That's a strategy, and here's what it's under. Objective 4.1 says the district will provide opportunities for partnerships between the community and the instructional program. That's the larger goal. Provide opportunities for partnership between the community and the instructional program. Then it goes down to this particular strategy, and we have on here that the strategy be at least 3 times. We can change that to 2 times. Or
your event qualifies too, does it not? Your event the other night?
sure, well, we have other kinds of community partnership meetings. I mean, prior to adding this, since we added this, we have the town halls.
Yes.
So there's a lot of opportunity, but this one is in particular talking about the 3 different.
Don't we also participate in the chamber banquet?
Yes.
No, I mean, what's coming up?
Banquet.
The banquet. The awards banquet, which where the schools are part of that, as well as with the chamber, and it has all of the city. So I would think that would be also one of those.
I think we're hitting it, honestly. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
So leave it in, is what I'm hearing.
Yes, leave it in, I think.
Yeah, I think leave it in.
Yeah. And maybe when the leadership solidifies with everything, all of these entities, as Guy was saying, it will evolve into a new partnership in progress type of event, which is the same thing.
Right, just to get to know each other.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think pulling together at some point, some of these other events are important, but then there's a time to pull together everyone for a roundtable discussion and organize some goals and some of those things. I think there's some mastermind that can happen amongst it as well.
Yes.
Just to be stronger as a community. I mean, a lot of the things that we're doing, it's really about trying to bring the community into the school to help make decisions or get information. This is more about building partnerships between the leaders of all these entities and supporting each other as a community.
Yeah, because when there are cracks in any of them, you know, there are struggles in any of them, it can affect the others as well.
Yes.
So I mean, those, regardless of what's happening, I think those relationships and those things going on are important.
Yes.
Keeping the communication, even, you know, there's a lot going on.
A side effect can be getting married. I remember. I'm all for
Just to clarify, I think it's important what Guy was saying, that it's intentional between the leaders of those groups. Like, we go to different things where the commissioners are and the, you know, different, but it's important to get the leaders together intentionally to sit down at a round table and talk about things.
That's what was originally started.
So I don't think it really counts to say, well, you know, we had the town hall and the one person came, well, that's not the same as
Trying to bring
everybody
us
sitting
all
down.
those together. I agree.
What we need is what we need. But it's important, it's important.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, so those are the changes, and we kept the goal that was specific to the board. And I recommend they accept it.
We have, the recommendation is to approve the CSIP as presented. I forgot to take a motion already.
I'll make a motion to approve the CSIP as presented.
Motion by Guy. Second by Mark. All in favor? Any opposed? No. Thank you. And next, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make a motion to.
Motion by Guy. Second by Amber. All in favor? Thank you. Merry Christmas,